Hey, and welcome back to another overdress video, I guess. Uh, yeah, so um, this is Orfist deck list. I actually managed to build Orfist, and I've been playtesting with the deck a lot, so I finally decided to make a deck list. I apologize for my setup. I know it's really messy. I'm trying to improve it, but I'm working with what I have, so I hope it doesn't bother you guys too much. But anyways, um, let's just get into the deck list then. We'll of course start off with our right line here, and we have a Fovi. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Cardinal Fang Fovi, yeah. I think that's how you pronounce it in English, but anyways, this is our first Vanguard, our starter here. It does what every starter does. When you ride over it, if you're going second, draw card. Next, we are moving on to our boss monster. Our grade 3 boss, Orfist, Cardinal Deus, Orfist. So what does he do? Van rear during your turn, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, then this unit gets power plus 5k. So he's 18k during your turn. It's really good. And then if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, Counterblast 2. This is Van only, by the way. And call up to 3 Shadow Army tokens to your rearguard circle. And these tokens, I'll show you guys what the tokens look like later, but you can kinda see here. So that's actually the point of the deck. Basically, you get to Orfist, and you make sure you have 2 counterblasts to bring out your tokens, your giant beat sticks, and then basically you keep your tokens on there and you attack with them. But moving on, now we have our grade 2 Cardinal Noid, Cubicia. When Van only, when a world card is put into your order zone, then choose one of your units and it gets power plus 5k. So you can also choose this unit. You can choose him as well if you don't have any rears. Alright, and then his second skill is rearguard only. During your turn, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, this unit gets power plus 5k. So he's 15k beat stick. Very nice. I'll get to the numbers of the actual cards later after I finish explaining the actual right line. Next, we have the grade 1 Cardinal Noid Rutus. So when this unit's placed on Vanguard circle, choose search your deck for one world card, reveal it, add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So this is what's gonna fetch you your world card that you can then set up for Dark Knight. So it's basically guaranteed that you're gonna have Dark Knight as your world in standard. And his second skill is rearguard circle. When this unit attacks or boosts, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, this unit gets power plus 2k. Cool, so he's a 10k booster or attacker. Now, before we move on to the rest of the cards here, we'll get to the number of the cards in the right line. I apologize if I'm making any mistakes or if the order is kind of weird for explaining stuff, because this is kind of my first time doing this. If you saw my previous video, then it wasn't like this. Yeah. Anyways, so Orfist, of course, we are running 4 copies, 1 for the right deck, 3 just so you can persona ride. You are almost always going to have 4 copies of your boss monster. Next, we have our next we have Cubishia here, and we're actually running 4 copies of him as well. The reason we're running 4 copies of him is because, well, his rear guard skill is just really good. The fact that he's 15k. So supposing if you you lose one of your shadow tokens, at least you can call Cubishia there and you have a 15k attacker now. Or, well, yeah, that's basically it. Next, for the grade 1 Brutus, we're actually running only 1 copy of him. That's because his second skill isn't really that great. I mean, getting more power is of course useful, but with this deck, you're going, most of the time you're going to be working with your Shadow Army unit, so you don't really need your Shadow Army tokens. I mean, they're also gonna have boost anyway, and they're also like pretty strong. They have more power than Brutus, so you don't really need to run more copies of him. So that's why we only run 1 in this deck. Moving on. Now we're moving on to the rest of the cards here. They're outside of the right line. Frigid Mutant, I believe, or Frigid Beast. No, I think it's Frigid Mutant. Yeah. Drumler. I'm sorry, I don't really remember the English names all the time because I'm playing in Japanese. But anyways, when this unit is placed on rear guard circle, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, draw a card. So the main reason we're kind of just playing him is, well, he does cost a Counter Blast, so that's not that great, but at the same time, he helps you draw. So supposing if you kind of brick or you don't get many pieces, or maybe you run out of shadow tokens now but you still have a Counter Blast, at the very least you can help draw hand with Drumler here. Also, he's just a good 10k beat stick, right? But mainly the draw is nice. Next, we're moving on to grade 1s already. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm sorry, I almost forgot to tell you how many copies, even though you could see. But yeah, as you can see, we're running 4 copies here in this deck. Yeah. Moving on. Well, now this is definitely a staple. If you're not like looking up the cards and all that, maybe you don't know this, but this card is like really good, so you should definitely pick him up when he comes out in English. And what this card is Detonation Mutant Bulbamine. I hope that's how you pronounce it. But anyways, 4 copies of this definitely, because like I said, he's a staple. What does he do? He's your counter charger. When this unit boosts, at the end of the battle that this unit boosts, if there's a set card in your order zone, which there definitely is going to be with this deck at least, anyways, put this unit into your soul, counter charge 1. That's really good. So you can just so you will want to call down Bulbamine to boost and counter charge when you want to. So maybe if you want to counter charge, remember to keep like an open space in your field after calling your shadow tokens. I mean your shadow army tokens. But yeah, he's not just good in Orfist. This card is also definitely great in, well, just any deck that right now with Prison and, you know, Seraph Snow, I mean, and Orfist, there's only like these 2 decks for Brandgate now, but in the future there's definitely going to be more decks, and I do think this is going to be a staple. So yeah, this card is like pretty much sold out here now as well, so you should definitely try to get him in when he comes out in English. It's probably going to be difficult if you wait too long. Just a tip. Okay, that went on for quite a while, sorry about that, but it's just a really good card. Next, we're moving on to an useful recharger, which is actually another pretty good card, I think, for this deck. This is, I mean, of course, Orfist support, but yeah, useful recharger. We're running 4 copies. What does it do? Well, when this unit's placed on Guardian Circle, Counter Blast 1, then if your world is Dark Knight, for that turn, this unit gets plus 5k shield, so he's 10k shield. with 1 counterblast. But yeah, but if it's Abyssal Dark Knight, he gets plus 10k shield. So this is 15k if you're on Abyssal Dark Knight. The reason why we run this is just for more shield value, because it is pretty good, especially if your opponent doesn't take out your Shadow Army tokens, so you have counterblast ready. Feel free to use this, and you get to keep your triggers, or like if you run out of triggers, well, now you have something that has the shield value of a trigger. Useful, so useful recharger is useful. Not to mention that you can also countercharge later with Bulbamine, so there's definitely free space to use that. Again, Orfist is the most counter blast heavy card in the deck, so you can definitely afford to run useful recharger. I run him at 4 copies for shield value, but you can change that to whatever you like if you want. It's just a pretty good card. Next, we're moving on to our last grade 1s here. Well, kind of last normal grade 1 anyway. Normal unit it is, I mean. And it's the Sentinel. It's the PG. What else is there to say? Other than this is one of the new PG. This is Violet Dragon that came out in set 1. And I do recommend you just upgrade. Even though it is a perfect guard, you should definitely upgrade to this, because it says that when placed in Guardian Circle, if you have when placed in Guardian Circle, choose one of your units, and for that battle cannot be hit. If you have more than 2 cards in your hand, discard a card. So if you don't have if you don't have more than 2 cards in your hand is like pretty low, or maybe you only have this PG in hand, you can still use it. So that's why I really do recommend you upgrade it. It's a rare, probably not that, it's not that expensive as well, so that's really good. Definitely a staple in any Brandgate deck. Violet Dragon, upgrade your PGs. So of course 4 copies of that. Great. So we're now moving on to triggers. But before we actually get to the triggers, I'll put it up on screen. There is one card that I didn't pick up or put in this deck that I kind of want to just, as a tip, mention it, because it's a pretty good card as well. Lightning Thief Monster Jabatal. Yeah, that's the card. And it's a grade 3. What it does is when this unit would, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, when this unit would attack, it battles the entire column, your opponent's column, that is. So that's really good, because of course, because it battles 2 units at once, right? You can take a lot of them, you can take more units out. So it is a good card. I do recommend it if you want to pick it up and put it into your deck. But the reason why I didn't put him in here was because, well, he's not completely necessary. He is a really good card as well, but he kind of works. He's kind of like a normal unit against like a standard unit, you know, against some matchups, because like some matchups don't really care if you battle entire column. Some other decks probably don't even have an entire column. Maybe they only have 1 rear guard in there, so then it's kind of useless. It's like doesn't really do anything. But for others, like I think against Bruce, it can be really strong. So I didn't put him in the deck here, but I'm just letting you know that there is another like really good option that that maybe you wanna put in if you wanna try it out, that is. But I didn't pick up the card, so but anyways, yeah, moving on to our triggers. Here we have our critical triggers. We're running 4 copies of him, of the card. Some decks do play 8 crit, especially with Orfist, because he can hit really hard, and well, crits win games, right? So, but I don't think that's kind of a good idea to just run 8 crit. A 4 crit I believe is enough, and the reason why I don't think you should replace. Should play 8 crits because you want space for these draw triggers here. 4 draws. Now the reason why I run draws instead of more crits is just because they are really good for discarding, and yeah, that's basically it. Not only that, but drawing is kind of nice. Who knows, maybe if you drive check your draw trigger, you can draw into a good piece. But so again, draws in general are just pretty nice, but the fact that they're also really good discard fodder makes me think that yes, you should probably run 4 copies rather than reduce it, because you don't really want to get rid of any of the other cards here. Maybe Drummler, since you don't always need him. If you have like more cards, other cards in your hand, you can discard them just fine, for example. But yeah, there's not really many other cards you would want to discard. You definitely don't want to get rid of your Bulbamine, for example. You would want to keep that. Next, we are actually moving on to the front trigger here, and actually we run 3 copies of this. Reason why we run 3 copies of front triggers is actually for the over trigger, but we'll get to the over trigger later because that's a lot. That's the over trigger. It's really cool. So next we're actually moving on to heals. Of course, 4 heal triggers. Every single deck should play 4 heal triggers unless you're like some kind of extra ordinary deck with an insane loop or something. But yes, now we're finally moving on to our over trigger here, the Brandgate over trigger. Of course, because it's an over trigger, you can only put 1 copy in your deck. What was its English name again? I believe it was Source Dragon of Infinitude, Eldo Breath, I think. Yeah. So, what does the over trigger do here? So, as you know, when you perform a drive check and this trigger comes out as a trigger in your drive check, that is, you can, you have to banish this card, draw a card, and then you can activate its second effect. And the second effect is for that turn, all of your front row rear guards get double the power and crit that they currently have. So it's not the power of, it's not like their original power that's doubled, it's the power they currently have. So if you check like another trigger before this, yeah. But then you can also give one over 100 million power anyways. So definitely really good. Especially the crit thing, because well, now all your units are double crit. If they somehow managed to get a crit previously, then now they're 4 crit, for example, because it is double. So that's just insane. Your opponent will really have to have PGs in their hand. Actually, I'm pretty sure if this thing comes out on your grade 3 turn, you have your shadow tokens on Orfist and all that, then I do believe your opponent will just have to PG their way to serve, just PG, or they can't survive the turn. This is definitely a turn ender because of that. Really cool. Of course, as you also know, but I'll just explain again, if it comes out in a damage check instead of a drive check, you also get to give one of your units 1 million power, but then you also have to banish it, draw a card, and then yeah, that's it. Doesn't activate the second effect. So yeah, definitely want to upgrade your deck, replace your trial deck over trigger with this. It's a double rare, I believe. Yeah, it's a double rare, 50k shield. Just a little bit expensive at first, but later on I'm pretty sure the price will go down. Like this is actually one of the least expensive over triggers. I think the most expensive is currently the Keter Sanctuary one. Maybe I'll do a deck list for that someday, but anyways, because the Keter one is insane, but all the over triggers are insane anyway. So yeah, definitely wanna run this. Well, one unit gets 100 million power, and then everything else gets double that, including the unit that gets since you get to choose which unit gets 100 million power, by the way. I'm pretty sure that that also gets doubled, so it becomes like 200 million. So even if your opponent kind of checks an over trigger, for example, on their defense, then you still hit. That one unit that you gave 100 mil to can still definitely hit, especially since it's plussing its own power. Anyways, moving on to our order cards, actually saving the order cards for last, but these are actually the set cards that you are going to need in order to activate the rest of your card effects, card skills. Of course we run 4 copies of this card, which is Howling Moonlight. I think that's the English name. Yep. Howling Moonlit Night. Yep. So it's a set order. That means it's like a field spell in Yu-Gi-Oh. You set it, you place it in your order zone. You pay the cost to play it, set it in your order zone, and you keep it there. It doesn't go into the drop zone. The cost for it is Soul Blast 1, so definitely not a difficult cost at all. And like I said, Bulbamine goes to Soul with his skill, so that just fuels this. Anyways, so when this card is placed in your order zone, draw a card. So again, draws are nice. And mainly when you are going to use Rootis to search for an order card, for a world card, then you are probably gonna want to set this, actually, because it's a grade 2. And Cubicia is a grade 2, so you're gonna want to play this as early as possible, right? So on your grade 1 turn, search for this card. When you ride Cubicia, you play this immediately, because you can do that. So yeah. And I'm sorry, I almost forgot to mention the other skill, which is pretty important, but it says it's when in the order zone, if you have another card in your order zone, activate these effects based on the number of cards there are. So 1, your world will become Dark Knight. 2 or more, because you can put more than 2 actually, but you don't need to, then your world will become Abyssal Dark Knight. So you can play more than 1. So basically, if you have this card, you already set it, and your world is maybe already Abyssal Dark Knight, don't worry about paying a Soul Blast if you can't activate it again, because then you can draw a card again. So that's why you probably want to set more if you can. If you don't, then the rest can become discard fodder, so remember that. But yes, that is our grade 2 order card that we will be setting first. Next, now this is the order card that you will that you probably won't be searching for, and I don't recommend that you search for this. I recommend that you just hope to draw it, which is why we do have draws, right, to help with that. Anyways, so it's another set order, but it's a grade 3 this time, so you can only play this on your Orfist turn, when you're on Orfist, that is. Soul Blast 1 to play it. So when this card is placed on the order in the order zone, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards, front row rear guard, and then retire it. So that's good. Soul Blast 1 to retire a rear guard, definitely not bad at all, right? Oh, and I almost forgot to say the name. It's In the Darkness That Nobody Knows. Yeah, kind of a edgy name, I guess. Well, not edgy, mysterious name, I guess. Anyways, in the order zone, and then its skills here is basically the same as the other card, your other order card. When it's in the order zone, if you've got another card, if you've got another order card, then your world is if this card is in your order zone, it's Dark Knight, If you have another card besides this, then it's Abyssal Dark Knight, basically. That's basically the skill. Even though it doesn't read exactly like that, that's what it is. Yeah, so like I said, if you have more than one of these in your hand, you have your Soul Blast and you want to retire one of your opponent's cards, go ahead. But yeah, so I do recommend that you also run 4 copies of this, of course. So we are running 8 order cards, making it highly likely that we will at the very least draw and get one, or we're guaranteed one, so right, increasing our chances to get more than one will also be good. So yeah, like I said, you don't need to have more than, by the way, you don't need to put like this order and then this order card. Don't, if anyone's like thinking you need to do that, you don't worry about it. You can set 2 of literally the same order card and your world will still be Abyssal Dark Knight, I believe. Yeah, I'm reading this again, and apparently, sorry, it actually says here that if there are no other cards in your order zone that are not world cards, so basically only if you have world cards, so do keep that in mind. So don't like put the prison order card into your Orfist deck and then set it, because I'm not sure why you would do that, but in case anyone's thinking to do that, don't. It doesn't work. Especially since Orfist doesn't have any cards to prison. If you try mixing them up, I mean, then Orfist and prison, it doesn't work. But anyways, moving on, we have our final card here, and that's the actual Shadow Army token I've been talking about. These are 15k grade 1s, and they have boosts, so they're 15k beat sticks or they're 15k boosters. Feel free to call them to the front or back row. And again, since these are tokens, when they leave the field, they don't actually go to the drop zone. They are banished. Well, not really banished, but they just basically leave the game when they leave the field. So for example, if your opponent, so that's pretty good when it comes to going up against something like prison, for example. So if your opponent tries to imprison your Shadow Army tokens, which did happen to me, by the way, I was playing a game against them, against prison. It didn't work, because when the tokens left the field, they instead were banished. So my opponent just couldn't get any cards into their prison because my field was just full of Shadow Army tokens instead of actual units. So that's one thing you can do, but like I said, that's not always gonna happen. But anyways, so I actually run 8 shadow tokens. So these are tokens and they don't go into your deck. They're like they're like gift markers, but obviously the standard doesn't have gift markers. So because of that, you are allowed to run as many of this as you want. So the reason why I run 8 was because I was trying to get as much as possible, and I managed to get 8. Because, well, it's just good to have extra. You are going to be calling 3. You're probably going to be calling 3, I mean, like, at a time. Especially if you have that space in your field. Like, if you're on Orfist and it's your first time in the game calling the Shadow Army tokens, you will probably call 3 of them out. So, it's just, well, yeah, just having extra is nice. But you can run as many as you want. These should not be so expensive either. They are token cards. But anyways, yeah, look, the art's really nice as well. So that was, yeah, that was it for my Orfist deck. The name of the deck, by the way, is Abyssal Dark Knight. Yeah, in case anyone was wondering if the deck has a name, I'm just gonna give it Abyssal Dark Knight. Because of the Abyssal Dark Knight world, you know, in the deck. Anyways, this deck is actually pretty decent. It's good, and I definitely think you can bring this to tournaments. some people are trying to say that Orfist himself, Orfist the deck is not that great. It's like D tier, but that's not true. I do believe that I mean, of course it does have bad matchups, but like in general it's actually a really good deck where you just bring your tokens out and you swing. It's also really simple, so if anyone wants to start playing Vanguard and they want a simple deck, then I do a simple but really good deck. Go with Orfist, because that's a good option. It's just it is really strong when you can bring your tokens out and you can attack. So by the way, if you guys didn't notice, this actually was inspired by the official deck list that Bushiroad gave out. The deck list of course is on their website, and it is of course in Japanese, and I think maybe the English version will have the maybe the English version will have the deck list as well on the English website later when it comes out, but who knows. Anyways, I'm pretty sure on the Japanese side was the deck name was Enforcers of the Dark Knight, something like that. So that is a pretty cool name. The only difference between that and this deck actually is that I'm, instead of running 8 crit, I'm running 4 crit and the rest is draw triggers. I think that's basically the only difference. But yeah, this is just my deck list as well that I've been playing with. And if you guys want to build Orfist your way, go ahead. There's a bunch of different combinations. I haven't also talked about the other order cards that are available, like the one that you can play in order to choose one of your Vanguards. It gets power plus 10k, so that's like pretty good also. But I don't run it anyways. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and like I said, I apologize for the setup. Let me know what you guys think. If this is cringy, maybe I'll just stop, but if you guys did enjoy it, maybe I'll do more, like maybe Keter. So yeah, just thanks a lot for watching, and bye.